Good morning. This is Mark here with Supercharged Wellness. And this morning I'm here to talk to you about a subject matter that is very near and dear to my heart. It is something that has affected my life since I was a teenager, up until not that long ago. And I've lost a lot of friends to it. Anyways, I want to talk to you about addiction and the mental health aspect of addiction, the disease model versus the other models, and what worked for me. And yeah, anyways, let's dissect this a little bit. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about my experience. Addiction for me was something that I never ever thought would happen. Quite honestly, I thought it was for the weak. It was for people who had made bad decisions in life. You get the stereotypical idea of what that is in your mind through the media and stuff like that. And it's basically like an alcoholic or an addict is like the guy under the bridge drinking out of a paper bag, or the guy under the bridge or on the corner hustling, or doing hard drugs and using needles and stuff like that. And the last thing you think is going to happen is that you're going to end up in those circumstances. And let me tell you, addiction. There's this video out there that pisses me off whenever I see it, and it's this guy, and he just goes on a rant. It's like a ranting tirade about how addicts are just weak people, and you made a choice, and da-da-da. Let me tell you something. The people that I was hanging around with back in high school were all doing the same shit, okay? And it wasn't a choice. Because at that age, there was a lack of education surrounding this. There was basically the Don't Do Drugs campaign. Drinking was looked at as something that was maybe not positive, but it was, I would say it was positive. Drinking was almost celebrated, and it was allowed. And, alcohol is probably one of the worst drugs of them all, and it's legal, and you can buy it at the freaking store. So, lack of education at that age. Maybe now in the schools and stuff there's more education, so I don't know, but back then basically they said just don't do it, and everybody was already doing it, and none of us had seen any of the consequences of our actions yet. So we were just like, don't do it. Why? It's fun. Why wouldn't I do that? Why? They didn't explain why. They didn't give you any background education. They didn't show you any of the consequences. Basically, we had the police come in to the school for an education segment in the library, and they had a bunch of Bristol boards up that had names of drugs, and then like an example, like a physical example of what the drug would look like. And it was like in a baggie, like a white powder or like a brown stone or whatever the heck that particular drug looks like on the street. And it wasn't the actual drug, it was a fake version of the drug. But all they basically did was show you what it looked like. There was no education, there was no don't do this because this is what's going to happen to your life. It was just, they just fucking told you how to find drugs, basically. They're just like, here, this is what it looks like, go get it. In other words, terrible don't do drugs campaign, and just saying no does not work. There are so many contributing factors to addiction. There's family aspects, there's the people you hang around with, there's the way that you're wired in your mind, and for me, everybody was just doing it, and we all just did it, and it was fun in the beginning, and then it just got carried away, and it wasn't fun no more. And let me tell you, when you are stuck in the grips of addiction, it is a mental health disorder. You do not have a choice. You lose power of choice. That is the whole concept of addiction. If it wasn't an addiction, then you'd be able to choose not to do it. That's why it's an addiction, because you lose the power of choice. Now, on the flip side of that, there is a solution to addiction. And until you understand that that solution exists, until you are able to go out and start living in that solution and changing your life, you are stuck in the grips of an addiction. You do not have a choice in the matter. Now, once you have discovered that there is a way out, and this is how you do it. And not only that, but millions of people who have come before you have done this, and they have been able to stop, change their lives, and live normal, fulfilling, happy lives after coming from such a deep, dark place. And once you have that knowledge, and once you start to live in that solution, and your life really starts to improve, you're able to put down the drugs, put down the alcohol, and go and live and experience life without drugs and alcohol. If you choose to return to drugs and alcohol, then it becomes a choice. But don't come and tell me that some 14 or 13-year-old kid whose dad's an alcoholic and smokes crack or something crazy shit like that, and, you know, hangs out with all these kids in a real bad area of town where, you know, that's the norm, gets stuck into this, you know, socioeconomic lifestyle or upbringing that has a lot to do centered around drugs and alcohol, has a fucking choice. It is not a choice at that point. You do not have the mental capacity and the education at the age of 13, 14, 15 years old to make a decision. You do not have the capacity to understand the consequences of your actions in 10 or 15 or 20 years at that age. It's just not hardwired in your brain. You don't have the brain capacity at that age. Your brain doesn't even fully develop until you're like 21 or 22 or something like that. So, you know, and that's when you start to be able to gauge consequences. And what happens when you pick up drugs or you pick up alcohol is that you stunt your brain development emotionally. And you continue to think in that very immature fashion through your years of addiction. And as soon as you pick up, it's basically where you stop growing. Okay? And when you put it down, it's not just a drug problem, man. It's a living problem. It's a thinking problem. It's the way that we interact with people. It's the way that we deal with situations in life, you know? So when you just put down the drugs are only a symptom of the issue. The issue is that we have stunted our development emotionally and spiritually, and we are unable to cope with life. So that's how we cope with life. And when you put down the drugs are the only thing, the alcohol is the only thing that allowed you to get through life in that fashion. When you put it down, like, your solution to life is gone. Because your solution's always been, oh, you know, I worked hard this week, I had a bad day, whatever excuse we tell ourselves to go and drink and to go and use drugs. We've been using that for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And all of a sudden we take that away from the person because it no longer serves them. Because what happens with drugs and alcohol is that they serve you for a little while and they're fun and they give you something. There's an escape and there's a positive response to it and you have good times. And then all of a sudden all that's stripped away from you and all you're left is with this negative response. So what happens is we are taken out of that, our solution is removed, and then we're just left with this like immature, you know, addicted, you know, unstable mood unstable mind. That's a really bad way of saying that, but yeah, like it affects your brain chemistry, it affects the way that you think, it affects the way that you respond to situations. You know, you come out of addiction depressed, very, very anxious, you know, more mental health issues. Sometimes like you have psychosis, so you go through paranoia. There's all sorts of things that happen as a result of those drugs and that alcohol affecting your brain chemistry. And to say that that's not a mental illness or that that's not a disease, that's a choice. Man, nobody chooses to throw their life down the drain, to ruin their family, to use all their money to do drugs so that they can be left penniless and homeless on the street. Nobody chooses that shit. People get stuck in it because in the beginning it's fun. It's like the devil. He lures you in with good time, with like this amazing experience Like the first time you use anything, it's like, wow, holy shit, that was awesome. And then, very slowly that good time is stripped away from you and it does no longer exist. And it flips the script on you. And next thing you know, all you're left with is all these negative effects and you can't stop. That is not a choice, my friends. That is not a choice. Now, like I said, it becomes a choice down the road when you learn that there is a way out. It becomes a choice at that point. And at that point, if you know that there's a way out and you know that you're killing yourself and you're killing your family and you have the ability to choose a better life and you choose drugs and you choose to keep ruining your life and keep ruining everybody around you, then I don't feel sorry for you. But there has to be some more compassion around this subject matter because these people, I am not a bad person. These people who are stuck in the grips of this addiction are not bad people. They just made some bad decisions early on based on, a lack of education. And then those decisions turned into a lifelong of suffering and misery. And when you come in, like the hopelessness and the despair, and you can't see past, what's right in front of you because you've never been able to gauge consequences and to see the light at the end of the tunnel, it takes a lot of faith and it takes a lot of time. And you're so used to having the right resolve to try to quit or the right resolve to try to move forward with your life, like moving around to different places, trying to escape, trying to find different friends. Maybe if you just find a girlfriend, it'll be okay. Maybe if you just get that job, it'll be okay. Maybe if you just move to the other side of Canada, away from all the drug dealers and away from all the friends you used to go to the bar with, it'll be okay. But the problem is that it doesn't matter where you go and it doesn't matter what you do. It's up here, man. You have affected your brain chemistry and you bring yourself with you wherever you go. So in my experience, moving never helped. Changing friends never helped. It wasn't until I had to go and take a really good hard look at myself and do some of these things that are suggested as a program of recovery that I was able to change my life and get out of that. Now, this is a touchy subject. This isn't something that I want to really get out there that like publicize and stuff. Like I don't even know if I'm going to post this. Anyways, maybe I will, but this is something that it's a very touchy subject, and there's another side to it too, and there's this neuroplasticity side to it where you do things that affect your brain chemistry, that affect the way that your brain is wired as far as the neurological connections in your mind, and you become hardwired to certain behaviors after a long time. But those can also be broken. But it's not easy. It's not something that you just make a decision to change. It takes time and practice, and you have to start living a certain way and implementing behaviors in your life before your brain will start to recalibrate itself and line itself up with different habits and different behaviors. And I fully believe in that model as well. It's not to absolve responsibility from addiction or from alcoholism. Like, yeah, you're responsible for changing your life when you learn that there's a solution. You are absolutely responsible for the decisions that you make and the harm that you have caused. And you have to go back and you have to rectify that stuff. But it is not your fault that you became a drug addict or an alcoholic. It's not your fault. It is not the fault of the individual. These things are almost celebrated to a degree in some aspects of life. Like alcohol is brutal. Like you basically live throughout the week to consume caffeine to get through your work week, and then you blast your brains to hell with booze all weekend and dumb yourself down enough so that you can just do it all over again. Alcohol is one of the worst, as far as I'm concerned. It just turned me into something I didn't like. Turns people into something, and then you celebrate this hangover. It's like you earned it's like a badge of honor. Like, come on, man, wasting your life. Anyways, I try to give back as much as I possibly can now with people. I do have a limit when it comes to this because it is so bleak and because I've lost so many friends that, if you're willing to go above and beyond and do what's necessary to get better, then, I'll by all means try to help you and lead you in the right direction. But there's a thing with addicts. They don't listen. They don't listen. They like to do things their way. Well, unfortunately, the way that they've been doing things led to this point. It doesn't work. So until these people become willing to listen and do something different, then the outcome's pretty bad. So in my experience, I've almost had to back away from the whole thing for my own mental health and sanity, because I was just getting too caught up in what other people were doing, and when someone's doing really well for a while and then they fall on their face again, and then they're out there doing their thing and the same shit happens, and then a year down the road or 6 months down the road they turn up dead, and it's like, oh, another one. Like I've lost so many friends, so many acquaintances that I knew, that you try to help them out and then they're dead like within a year. And like young men, whether it's to the system in jail, where they ruin their lives that way, or they actually end up in a box, you're dead. You no longer have a decision to make. You no longer have a choice. And that's the reality of the situation these days with the shit they're putting in the drugs out there. And you know what? Booze and alcohol and drugs, if you're an addict alcoholic, go together like peas and carrots. And these people, they want to stop doing drugs, but they want to keep drinking. It's like, man, you got to clean everything up. You got to clean your whole lifestyle up. Everything has to end. You have to completely disassociate from that entire party lifestyle and basically reinvent yourself. And it takes a long time, and I get it. But, the benefits of that are great, because if you just go back to the bar and you hang out with the same people you were hanging out with and you pretend like it's all going to be okay and you can just have a couple, I'm sorry, but you're setting yourself up for failure. Anyways, that's my experience. I'm sure I'll make some more videos about this. Like I said, it's a touchy subject, and it's one that's near and dear to my heart. Anybody who knows me very well knows what I went through, and it was absolutely horrific. So that being said, I am grateful today to be free of the bondage of self and free of the chains of addiction, and be able to give back in the manner that I choose, the manner that I see fit. And this is the way that I'm trying to do that, through fitness, through health, through mindset coaching, and try to get people to see the light at the end of the tunnel and see that there is a way out, and you can reinvent yourself, and you can live a better life. You don't have to live this life until the grave. It's just, anyways, hit like and subscribe. Supercharged Wellness. Check out my Facebook page. I have a business page as well. Instagram at Supercharged Wellness. And please continue to like and share my videos. It's really helping me out. I've been receiving an overwhelming response from friends and acquaintances for what I'm doing and how it's helped them, or different people I've helped in the past are coming up and thanking me for what I've done for them. And it's really great to know that what I'm doing is actually making an impact. And even if it's a small impact right now, the speed at which this thing's been growing and at which I've been receiving this feedback from people is it's amazing. And you know what? My heart is filled with gratitude right now. And I want to thank each and every one of you out there, and hopefully I can make a difference in your lives. Thank you.